Today I want to dive right into that story that we just heard from Jesus, the one that we call the parable of the talents, and we will. But what you may not know is that we've already been unpacking this parable for weeks. You've heard lately from a few of your fellow parishioners at St. Anne's, and maybe you've noticed a golden thread being woven right through all the last few weeks. And truth is, it's going to weave right on through today.
One of the things we believe at St. Anne's is that God has placed in each of us a spiritual need to give.
And I believe that God has placed in all of us that same deep spiritual need to give.
We don't own any of this. Everything we have to give, we have because God gave it to us.
Truth is, you've already heard the punchline. You already know the point, but let's go a little deeper. Jesus tells a story today where this boss man is about to go on vacation, so he leaves his money with 3 of his employees. To one, he gives a huge amount, and to another, he gives a little less, and to the last one, he gives a little. But the first 2 guys take it and run with it. One goes and invests in the stock market, risky hedge funds, but it ends up paying huge dividends. The other guy gambles it all in Las Vegas, but hey, he wins big. And so they both bring their earnings back to the boss, and boy, is he pleased. But the third guy was nervous, cautious, scared. The third guy was worried about doing anything, so worried that he ended up doing nothing. He dug a hole and buried the money and sat on it. It turns out the boss man did not like that. The first thing you need to understand, though, is that we're not talking about just a few pennies here. These were talents, and talents were not even coins. A talent was a kind of weight. It was a way of measuring precious things like silver and gold. So back then, 1 talent of silver was about 15 years worth of wages. I mean, y'all, that's a ton of money. And so in today's terms, that would mean that one guy was entrusted with something like $5 million, and the next guy $3 million, and the last guy $1 million. I tell you all of that because it's important to know that this is not a story about burying a few quarters in the ground. This is a story about being given everything and being too afraid to do anything. Back when Jesus first told this parable, he was using it to stick it to the religious leaders of the day, the scribes and the Pharisees, the nervous Nellies who thought there was only one right way to do anything and that we better keep God in a box. And it was like he was saying, look, guys, you've been given all of this knowledge of God, and what have you done with it? You've kept it to yourself. You've buried it in the ground. The knowledge and love of God is meant to be spent wildly. And when you do, it doubles, it triples. It always comes back. But it can't do anything if you just hold it to yourself. And the great New Testament scholar William Barclay, he says that in this parable, it's like Jesus is telling us that there can be no real religion without a great sense of adventure. And he also says that this parable tells us that God has no use for a mind that is shut. Now here at St. Anne's, the way we would put that is this, that God is a giving God. Like Lindsay said in her sermon last week,
everything we have to give, we have because God gave it to us.
And because we are made in the image of God, well, that means that we have embedded deep within each of us a spiritual need to give too. We're givers. I want you to think about this year. Just take a moment. Think about this weird, horrible, exhausting year. And I want you to think about how it has felt in your body. That sounds strange, but go with me for a minute. How has your body felt through most of your moments this year? Chances are it has felt something like this. Like holding and clenching and gritting and just trying to power through and hang on to something and controlling whatever you can. Whew, y'all. That is not good for your heart. That is not good for anything. No one's ever going to tell you this, But living like that is like putting God in a box. It's like burying your talents in the ground. You were not designed for that. But if you're going to think about that, then think also about the better moments in this year. The moments when you have felt happy and hopeful and free. When were the moments when you smiled and relaxed and felt like you could breathe? Whatever those moments were this year, and I'm sure you've had some, I guarantee you that they had something to do with you giving to someone else or letting someone else give to you. And maybe not money, maybe a casserole or a kindness or a card or a call or just a nice comment. And all of those things feel good because it's what we were made for. You and I have within each of us a spiritual need to give, and it's a wonderful thing. It's like what Jeannie said in her talk today. She said,
I have never missed anything that I have given, but I cannot imagine what I would have missed if I had not given.
Here at St. Anne's, y'all know what it means to give. You are so lavish with your love, and even in the hardest of times, you take the risks. You open your hands. You care for our community. You love one another, and you choose to be givers. At a time like this, that is not the default action of the world. The default action of the world is to clench their fists and to put God in a box and to bury their talents and to try to control what they can. But y'all, you just shake the jar loose and spend and spread God's love with wild abandon. And that, my friends, that is a good thing. Because honestly, it's about the only thing that it's going to see us through. Next week is Consecration Sunday. Y'all come. We're going to worship outside. We're going to have a good time. We are going to give you some really good food to take home with you. And we're going to give you the opportunity at the end of the worship service for you to make your commitment for your giving in 2021. And you'll be able to walk right in there into the sanctuary and lay that commitment right up there on God's altar as an act of worship, just like we do every year. So, this week, be praying. Talk to God. Make your plan. It's been a tough year. Nobody knows what tomorrow holds. But what you and I do know is that God is the one who has given us all we have, including that deep, wonderful, innate desire to give. And every time we do, we set loose a little more love, a little more hope, and a little more joy. And these days, who in the world doesn't want that?